Hey there. I'm gonna record my most open-minded video yet. And that's saying quite a bit. That's saying a hell of a lot. And whether my dream comes true or not, I can tell you for a fact that I am happy. Um, so I'm convinced that everything is beyond happening for a reason. And I mean, down to the last millisecond of my life, every single moment that is enacted upon is for a reason. I've been haunted by fewer and fewer people. It seems that so many have left my mind. And I know that does sound quite odd. But the truth is, I became a time traveler. In my mind, I could swear that I just started fast forwarding every world that ever existed. And so I finally came to a finite point, and I said, I am right here. Like, this literally is the only thing I could explain it as, is that since the start of time itself, there was a man that awakened on a physical earth that brung everyone along, brung everyone with him. And then there was a godlike mind, a divine mind that lived above everyone. And I just started to encompass that mind. I started to become that mind, So there's plenty of voices in my head. And then I start speaking, and then there are none. And I think this actually plays a part into it. The voices that proclaimed it as, I just want to let you speak your minds. But really, there's a deeper point in how it's like all of you are inserted inside of me. And I belonged somewhere else the whole time. I was not the first person to ever exist. And then I start saying to myself, well then, once upon a time, was I the first person to exist? And I think yes. And I started thinking about how in my mother's stomach I could have imagined every single reality there ever was, only to end up at one point in time. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there have been alliances made in the background of our work, the working of our world. Now, I became convinced that once upon a time, there was this sort of subconscious reality, or this simulated backend, a simulated backdrop to our lives that just started to exist. And then, I just followed my protocol. I became convinced this one time, or quite a few times, that I would speak absolute genius. I would speak absolute truths. And it all relied around how there was a mathematical equation. For every ounce of my outcome, there was a mathematical equation. And, people, I'm sure someone out there would think to themselves, well, Matt, if you didn't ace it, then what's the fucking point? And if you didn't ace your math classes, then what is the point of it? Well, the truth is the only thing I could really explain it as is that I believe I conquered some kind of significant event I believe I overcame an obstacle, and a big part of that was to live the exact same life until the exact same timing. And then maybe there would be a point a few days, a few weeks, a few years later where I'd separate and be my own self. But until then, I had to live the exact moments down to the exact T. And I know I sound mighty confusing, so let me try to explain. I always need to say, I'm not sure why anymore. Because the truth is I mentioned metallization, a lot of times. I really have. Probably like 6, maybe 7 times now I have straight up mentioned metallization on this channel, because I became convinced at some point that we're all living interconnected lives, So there's a lot of things I can't explain because I do not have the facts at hand. But the first thing I have really wondered is, where did we all truly begin? I really wondered, where did we all truly begin? Because I became convinced at some point that if you could, okay, how do I put it? Let's say that your life is instinctively imagined, so every single second that passes is another second where you are hallucinating everything, but at the same time, everything is still included in a pragmatic basis, so everything still does exist. Meaning there's history, the time it has wildly elapsed mine, So then you ask yourself, how is that? How is it even possible? Well, I think that if the point is that at some point in our lives, I was infiltrated as a child, however not this time, but at some point in our lives, I was infiltrated as a child, right? So, and then the point was that as I awakened, the earth awakened, but everyone still held their memories. Everyone held 100% of their memories in its fabric. So what that would basically mean is that you were always here, you were always living, you were just never truly alive. And I hinted at this point so many times that I could never quite pull it through, but I guess the point more than anything, the reason I started releasing a video like the Time Warp, which was just a moment in time where I considered the implication, what a time warp could amount to. How we are all living in some being's head until we encapsulate the universe. Until we become the universe. And, then some moments started ringing through in my mind, like how there are 2 friends. I know it's just 2, but there's 2 friends of mine that, there was one, it was on Facebook, and there was another, it was on Snapchat. And I just sent them pretty wacky shit overall, not harmful, but pretty wacky shit about the future. And I became convinced that I was dealing with some kind of massive episode, and they weren't particularly friends. That's the point. The first one especially, not particularly a friend of mine. And he just chose to ignore it. Just chose to ignore the messages. Ever since then, I actually do not use Facebook anymore. But I was thinking a lot about that. And I told myself, what if I said in there that I would save the world? What if I said in there I was some psychic who would save the world? And, a hell of a lot of things started happening in my mind all at once. And I started thinking, if I really am in second place, what that would mean, is that while there was an infiltrating baby at first, it would be too late to my birth. So by my birth, everything is already fully established, because everything has been previously established, because it is a physical reality that was meant to be awakened with the logical intuition of people in mind. Therefore, if you can figure out the people down to their chin, you can figure out who goes where next, and you can insert yourself into the equation. As long as the reality has already happen once, then it can happen a second time, but then benefits can come your way. Or so I told myself that was the point. I wasn't sure, but I told myself that was the point of it all. And you know, like there came a moment where, oh yeah, okay, so you know, I started thinking to myself, what is a subconscious reality in the first place, right? Like subconscious, what does it even mean? What is a subconscious reality? And then I remember about like a month and a half ago, I mentioned it to my friend Danny. I was like, hey, Danny, do you believe in subconscious realities and how there is a friction in time where, while in the moment we are both friendly with each other, there is always the possibility that our subconscious minds, they could be helping each other, but they also could be attacking each other. And I remember I especially meant the second one, and he actually completely agreed with me, and that was like a big thing. And then I started to realize, like, what if we're actually all under a subconscious dilemma that was bred by a past me in order to bring the current me into the equation, so at the end of the day I could actually own the universes, I could control the world. Like, what if like everything led to this moment in time so that I could save the world? That was my point. And you know, I got since then. I mean, more than honestly, it's you know, it's fucking me really up because I have like 37 subscribers, and at the same time, I'm just immediately beyond convinced that everyone knows who I am. You know, like I have like a jack shit of subscribers on YouTube. But I'm simultaneously convinced that every single person, especially the ones who I've been around at any point in time, know me. You know, like I became convinced that I took us all from that we were born in a different world, and that we all own shitloads of money, and that I was the richest one. And then there came a point in time where I was like, I need one mission in order to suit my life, and it will involve all of you. And then I could swear that like the moment I awakened, every single person in existence, and then some more, it's like they knew about me the whole time. But then I thought to myself, that's too ridiculous of a theory, you know, like I do not even understand it. And then I had a friend, Ahmed, and I visited that friend. That was a while back now, but I was in Ottawa, I think. And then there comes a moment where I could swear that the light is just fucking tripping out, bro. And I'm just like masturbating to a video out loud, and the light just starts tripping the fuck out. Like the light system actually just starts literally tripping out. And I was being haunted by demons that day. I could swear, bro. I was being haunted by demons that day. And then the next moment comes, and there is Ahmed, and he like steps out of his room, and he shuts the light off, and he realizes it is still working, and he shuts it off twice, and then everything fucking fades. Like it just stops happening. The light stops tripping out. And then the next day I was like, hey Ahmed, did you remember this moment? Do you remember this moment? It was like, nah, bro. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, it felt to me like you just played it off. That was my point. It felt to me like you just played it off. And I really started thinking to myself, like, what are our lives even, you know? Because if there is even like a 1% chance that I own any part of the world, that I am a significant owner of the universe, and if other people know this to be true, then we're living a superficial lie more than a truth. But the more I pieced it together, the more I came to a singular conclusion, which is that it was the only way for it to even be true, is if other people believed in it too. So, you know, I then started asking myself, the sentient basis, where does it lay? So if I could fast forward all of you into a future where I was no longer met with dismay, and then I could reunite with my world again, what would that even mean? And what I mean by reuniting with my world is that I just had this deep feeling and hunch that I lived with the exact same people, but yet my world, it was completely taken away from me. So I thought to myself, if I could reunite with my world, what would that even mean anyways? You know? And there was a point in time where I just started thinking to myself that at first we were all healthy, we were all happy, okay? And then this one man, because I kept on hearing in my hallucinations, I kept on hearing Elon Musk is not real. And if he's real in any way, then the realities truly are over. And I didn't understand what it meant. Like, what does that even mean? And I started thinking to myself, an infiltrator. Could it be an infiltrator upon my moment, my turf, my life? Then I started thinking there is right now I honestly, like, I do not know, but in the future there's just minutely more and more of a hope that grows in my mind that I will have this moment in time where I will miraculously make something appear out of thin air. There is just more and more of a moment in my mind where that happens. And it becomes because of the fact that my hallucinations actually worked with me. They did not work against me. My hallucinations did not come from the delusional fabric. They came from the reality itself. This is what I became convinced of. And, it's very interesting how life works. Because later on, I envisioned myself. Okay, so how do I put this? With the same friend that I mentioned earlier, the one I mentioned by name, later on I envisioned us getting back to the car, except I become convinced that it was the second way, not the first way, because there are two paths that we go down. And my mind, my memory infinitely registers it as two paths instead of one, which I find perplexing. And as I get to the door, I become convinced I walk down the second path. The second path is the path I walk down. But then I start thinking to myself, and I think, no, it must be the first one. So then I'm in disbelief. I do not know what that means, I think I might actually go 19 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah, it's been a while. But I just want to thank you for listening to me, and maybe the future will be brighter than expected, or maybe it'll just end up the same. I do not know, but I there's too many coincidences in my life. There are too many things that have happened where I just do not understand why the fuck that would even happen, and yet it's happened to me regardless, more than confusing moments, straight up unexplainable moments, for real. Anyways, yeah.